Hey YouTube, what's going on? Chris here. I want to bring you all a little update on Litecoin. Right now we're at $54.74. We're down 2.77%, so we're starting to have that pullback that we've been talking about, planning for, guys. I'm going to give you some key areas, some key targets. This is going to be a quick video. My parents actually bought my old childhood home that I haven't been in about 15 or 16 years, and they're going to be renting it out, so they're having some renters coming in, but I'm going to go run over there quick and take a look at it since I haven't seen it for so long before the renters get in here, and it's just pretty cool that my parents were able to buy it back after all these years. So I'm excited about that, but I'm going to have to be running. I'll meet my mom there at 1. So guys, what I wanted to bring to you, and if you could like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, I really appreciate each and every one of you. What we're looking for here is basically this pullback that we've been talking about, and I still feel like, guys, we could get down to that $50 range. The reason why I'm saying that is because of this entire move. Number one, the Fibonacci would take us to that 0.236, which is at $50, guys, and even if we were to get a bounce off there, that's still extremely bullish. That's hardly a pullback at all. You know, that's my first area I'm looking at, is that $50.41. That's also going to coincide with that green moving average there, the 20 EMA, which has been extremely powerful. You see, every time, guys, we've went up, we pull back onto it. We went up, we pulled back onto it. We went up, and my guess is we're going to pull back onto it. And what we're going to need to do is find support there. If we do not find support there, I'm looking down at that 0.382, around $45.03, which is also going to coincide with that 200-day moving average. So those are the areas I'm looking at, and then I'm also paying attention to as well, this 50 moving average in blue and this 50% on the Fibonacci around 40. So those are the areas that I'm really going to pay attention to. I want to see first what we're going to do with this, if we're going to get a bounce off that. If we don't get a bounce off that, I'm looking down to this area right here. If not there, we're going to be looking at this area. Ultimately, we want to see this purple trend line hold. That's the key. That's our short-term uptrend. We're trying to turn this into an intermediate-term trend, and I'm going to plan on doing a tutorial about short-term trends, intermediate-term trends, long-term trends, and how long each one is. Like, that short-term is typically from a few days to about 2 months or so, 2 to 3 months, right in that range, and that's kind of where we're landing now. We're trying to transition into that intermediate term trend. And you can see also what's pretty cool is that after this huge drop that we had, we finally made it back up. But in my opinion, we still need to cool off everything a little bit more, and we've talked about on the bearish side, this volume's not looking the best. You can see it's kind of tapering off there. If we pull up our RSI, let's take a look at this. So our RSI still, guys, pointing down right now. We're at 62, but what I want you to pay attention to is this trend line that we've had drawn for so long now. Remember, I said we got to break up through that if we want to continue higher right now. So we're looking at that area, and then we're looking at this area for support on the RSI, right in that range. So you can kind of see how we've been bouncing around here. We're having that flat bottom, then we're having these lower highs that are coming in, so it almost looks like that descending triangle. And remember, descending triangle is about 70% of the time going to break down, about 30% of the time going to break up. We still need to fill in here a little bit more to make sure that's what's going to happen, but that's the area of support I'm looking at. And I'm also paying close attention to this, which we brought up yesterday. This has been since November, guys, this move right here. See that? See these higher lows that have been putting in, and now we're going to see there's still more room for a pullback to bounce off this RSI and then potentially up through here. I don't feel like we're just going to completely roll over, guys. I'm just looking for a good spot. Remember, I was telling you, I don't know if I think it was like 55.79. I let some of my Litecoin go because I'm trying to flip them. We're trying to make more. And I do feel like we're going to be at least pulling back to that $50 range in the days to come. Could we go higher? Absolutely, guys. Like I've talked about, in cryptocurrency, the whales can come in even when it doesn't make sense. You can be looking at all these indicators, volumes down, and all of a sudden you go to the bathroom and you come back and there's one of those huge white candles that's sticking up, or there's a huge red candle. It happens. You can see them all throughout here. These moves, guys, happen typically in the matter of about an hour. Sometimes they'll come in 15-minute candles, and then all of a sudden they're ripped back out. So that's what you want to pay attention to. Now, to the upside, say we were to make a move from here, and this is all the farther that we pulled back, we would be looking next up to around this area here, around that first $60, and then I'm going to be looking at around probably that $63 to $66 range, depending on the real bodies and the wick there. So those would be the overhead targets that I'm looking at. We already talked about the lower targets that I would look at to buy back in. Next thing we're going to pay attention to is the Bollinger Bands and see how we're looking with those, because we did start to get overextended. If you didn't see that video, it was probably about a week ago. We were talking about how we were outside of the Bollinger Bands. When you get outside the Bollinger Bands, you always want to expect a pullback at that time. That's what they're there for. And you can see we're still kind of at the top here. So a pullback into that middle band, which is also around that 20 EMA, that $50, that would definitely be my first spot, guys. I would not be buying right now, and that's just me at 54.73. Like I said, I let some of them go. I think it was 55.79, somewhere around that range, and I'm looking to buy back more so around this area right in here to start layering back in, slowly layering back in, and I would layer all the way down into this trend line, and that's if everything's looking good and I feel as though we're still going to be moving up. Remember, I can get in and out of things, guys. I'm not your financial advisor. Don't follow what I'm doing. All I'm saying is I sold off at that spot because I started to see these things, the Bollinger Bands getting overextended, the volumes tailing off. You know, we gapped away from our 20 EMA. We're up above the 200-day moving average, which I still feel like we could come back down and test again and make sure that we do have good support off that, because Litecoin's been one of the only coins that is still up above that 200-day moving average, or is up above that 200-day moving average. Bitcoin is not there yet. We have not even came all the way up to test that yet, so we want to keep that in mind. But Litecoin has definitely still been leading the market. Like I've said, it's one of my favorite coins, projects overall. Some people love it, some people hate it, but I feel like it has one of the best communities out there. It really does, guys. And with all the adoption and all the things that have been taking off with it, you know, I feel like this is one that could really run hard down the road, and you want to have some ready. So, you know, that's all I wanted to show you today. Just a quick little update. Pay attention to the candle close today, see what happens. But guys, this is what I said. Nothing goes up in a straight line. Nothing goes down in a straight line. You're going to have these pullbacks. So look at the $50 range for your first one. Then I'd look at the $45, and I'd look down around that $40 in that trend line is what I would be looking at for a rebuy to continue this move to the upside in the short to intermediate term. So if you guys like these videos, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Hope you all been learning something, and we'll just continue to go through these. There's not a ton, you know, to talk about today. We're down 2.88%. We're at 54.68. God bless you all.